talking about women in finances, and I thought I was a good interviewer. I think I have to change everything I've ever understood. Oh my gosh, Dr. Barb, you're changing me.
Good.
Live on the air. I'm stumbling over what I thought was, I knew my sales process, right? I have my marketeering down.
Mm-hmm.
I know the timeline, the track. And guys are one track. I hate to say this.
Yeah.
And you're asking me to take a detour off that analog thinking, that timeline thinking of mine, and manage this issue and that issue, rabbit trail down here. I am like too many tributaries.
Yeah.
Too many variables. I used to watch the show Tool Time. Remember the
sure.
Tool Time? And the total angst, the tension between Jill, right, and Tim, because she would tell him all these things that you're telling me, and he would just go deer in the headlights blank. And he would just be frustrated because he doesn't know, well, what plan am I, or what variables, just too many things to incorporate. Mm-hmm. And I have similar mindset myself. I'm just saying for me, I would have that similar, and I think many of our male advisors have that same way. I don't want to, especially if you're an advisor out there that really says, I know my stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm very good at what I do. Mm-hmm. I'm conscientious and very engaged on my clients, what's good for my client. Mm-hmm. And if I have to change, I'm willing to change, Dr. Barr. I'm willing to change. But I don't know how. I think my personality is in concrete. Mm-hmm. And if that's true to you, sometimes I can't massage the issue. I'm being very nice on the show today with Dr. Barr, but on one of my other shows where we actually almost lost a case because the guy didn't even address the female equation of this second to ninth. She was right in the room and he never said anything to her. Sometimes when we are so entrenched in our thinking, and especially our sales ideas that have been successful, but I don't think they're going to be successful from now on. And this show may be not only a wake-up call, but maybe a jackhammer to your concrete way of thinking. You're going to have to bust up some of this. Your follow ground's going to have to be turned over.
Yeah.
And so if you're going through what I'm going through right now live with Dr. Barb, and I've known her, it's probably shocking off for you guys who don't even know what we're talking about. We're trying to introduce concepts because we know I feel so good about my practice, but I'm not doing a good job with the number one population that's going to be controlling the money for the next 10 years. And by the way, I'm just talking about the next 10 years, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Maybe what happens when your generation becomes the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
See, so we need to talk about these things. Now, we were talking about sales practices that don't work. How can I engage with you, Dr. Barb, without patronizing you, Dr. Barb?
That's a good point. Don't patronize. So again, what I've been telling you is that you talk this language all the time. So when you're selling to a woman, you need to explain to her what she needs or what the policies offer. You know, explain a little bit of the acronyms, the terminology that's being used.
Well, you just brought up a big one. Try not to use acronyms, right?
Try not
to use industrial language.
Yeah, in any sales conversation, for sure.
That goes for anybody. But yes, especially acronyms, because we're so used to talking this way.
Right.
And you're right. That's a huge point.
Not everybody understands, and they don't want to look silly. They don't want to always have to ask the question, I'm not quite sure what you mean between a term policy and a, they don't want to ask those questions because they're making the assumption they should probably know this stuff, but they may not know it.
How can I bring my client to a new arena of ease, personal ease? I know she or he, by the way, doesn't know my business, doesn't know the products, doesn't know the solutions, otherwise they do it themselves. So how can I bring them ease that they can open up to me and tell me, oh, I'm not getting that? Because I don't want them to sit back and say, I don't want to ask a stupid question and look ignorant.
Right. Well, and sometimes it's as simple as saying, I know there's a lot of terminology here. In fact, when I way back bought my first life insurance policy, I had a lot of questions, and I wish I had asked them. So now, when we go through this process together, feel free to ask me any questions. Set up a tone, set up an atmosphere that provides her comfort in a safe place to ask those questions for you.
So it's okay to stop me in my presentation if you're not getting it.
Sure, yeah.
Or you want me to go down another road. Or I remember in one of our other shows, you even suggested, oh, we need to stop there. I want you to unpack that.
Right.
That area, I think you need to explain it more.
Right.
Oh, and I might be heading into an explanation. Is that important to you? Oh, it isn't. Oh, okay, well then maybe I don't need to bring that up.
So let her drive the process instead of you following your succinct process along the linear path.
I was out dancing with my wife, and I'm so conditioned to leading.
Yeah.
I'm so conditioned to leading. So I move. I'm adjusting her position. Right. She's following me. How do I go into this new, almost it's again somewhat like courtship, right?
Very much so.
I'm the advisor. I'm there because of my expertise.
Right.
But you're saying maybe I need to let her lead me down the paths that are important to her. By doing that, that shows her that I'm interested in what she feels is important. I've noticed that what men think are important is not important to women. What is the difference there? And especially when it comes to finance and money.
Well, look at the conversations that men and women typically have. If you go to a friend's house, the men usually go over to one corner and are usually talking sports,
business, politics.
Right. And the women will go to probably the kitchen area, and they're talking about...
I'm not going to even try that.
Hairdos, maybe Dancing with the Stars, who got a new outfit, what's the latest trend, what's the latest recipe. They're doing a lot more dialogue and sharing of information, where men are having a more probably competitive conversation about sports.
Well, I think their competitive issue is they're trying to up each other on who knows what. It's a knowledge race, right?
It is, and it's a less emotional conversation. It's about statistics and numbers, where the women are having more of a connection. They're sharing information, they're sharing feelings, they're sharing thoughts, they're sharing lots of different information. In fact, women get together and walk malls or walk outside or have little parties together just to connect and talk to each other.
One thing we've learned about social media is that on Facebook, women rule.
Yes, they do.
You will not see many guys out there being personal on Facebook. Now, and you'll say, that's right, Steve, I don't do that either. But let me tell you something. We've discovered in social media, just as a little side junk here, that I don't do Facebook, but my wife does. And one day, one of our clients, our advisors, I said to him, could I write a 2 to 3 line script? Because he told me his wife had 300 plus Facebook pals. And I wrote a little thing about, the other night we went out to dinner. And we tried this new restaurant. And we thought it was really good. And we took Mike's clients with us. Soft sell. Just talking about the restaurant. So many people said, 100 people responded to her saying, what does Mike do? And she wrote back, I'm sorry, Mike's a financial advisor, da-da-da-da-da. He got 14 appointments, not out of a direct sell, my husband does this. Hey, we were at the restaurant the other night with Mike's clients. I thought that was so great, a great use of Facebook and letting your wife run that conversation.
Well, and that's another great example of why you want to have a really great sales experience for women, because women talk to other women.
Oh my gosh, referred leads.
And they will tell when they've had a great sales experience. They will also tell when they don't.
Wow, you're dead. Game over.
Right.
Well, when I'm thinking about, I'm ready to change my, I think my track is right on what I'm saying as my sales ideas and my solutions. But how I get there now needs to make a major detour. That's what I'm hearing us say. And so let's say I want to train myself in the patient listening to pick off what is big for her. What is big? When I'm sitting there, let's just talk about we'll do an elder woman. Let's say she's thinking, her kids are grown, she's just into grandkids, and maybe their estate is an issue, or maybe a charity of her choice. How can I flush out what's big to her in a concerned way of questioning that sounds like I'm really engaging, and I want to know. I'm interviewing her just like I'm interviewing you.
Right.
What's big for her? What is it?
Well, like I said, you can't assume anything. What's big for one person is not the same for another. So you really have to ask good open-ended questions. What concerns do you have? What do you want the future to look like? Where would you like your funds to go in the future? And when you're listening to her, you're writing down and you're reflecting back using her words of what she's told you.
You just hit a big male speed bump in my thinking. Ask an open-ended question. I mean, I can't even think that way. I mean, honestly, I was just thinking, wow, that alone is a reach for me.
Yeah, that's so important. Because how else will you get that information from someone? You don't get good information just by asking yes or no questions and going through a task list. You ask open-ended questions and let them go on and speak and tell you what's important to them and allow them that time and space to give you that information. And again, it's still so important for you to write down what they're saying, reflect back using the words that they've told you so that they know that you've listened to them.
It seems to me when I'm listening to my female clients that they're giving me a saga that they could have reduced in 2 to 3 sentences. Is that a bad perception on my part? Well, because I'm asking the questions that you've asked, and she tells me this ongoing story, which I think she could have given me in 2 sentences, and I could have picked off her big issue that's important to her. But she needs to tell a more relational story where the guy is going to be sitting there doing Cliff Note version of an outline, thumbnail sketch, boom, boom, boom.
Yes, women are much more articulate. So they will spend a lot more time giving you maybe background or information that you think is not necessary to the answer, but for them it's a way of getting in or easing into the information to provide you. So that's why it's really important to be patient and to be a good listener.
When I'm listening, how do I know what I'm trying to pick off, Dr. Barb? Because I'm listening to the story now. What are the signals that she's sending me? What are the buy-in? Is she buying into my idea? Maybe she's responding to my offer, my idea. How can I cherry pick out of that? What is that issue? That's the thing that I should hone in on. What's important to her? What are signs that I can pick up on?
Well, I think what you need to do is really listen to what the words that she's using, and then you need to also go back and ask, if I hear you correctly, are you saying this is what's important to you and read it off? Or would you say it's this? Or can you clarify for me why this is important to you and what you want to... So you need to ask her questions back and validating that information back with her.
Is she visionary? Is she audio? Is she kinetic, feeling oriented? What personality traits are... Now, I know that's all kinds, but are there things when I'm kicking it back, can I respond to you by saying, I heard you, did I hear you correctly? When you were speaking, I saw a vision of your retirement. Is that what you meant?
Right, that's what you can do. And you can say, I just want to make sure I'm getting the information clear. So let me write down some of the things that I heard you say. Is this correct? So it's about using her words and going back and validating with her.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we're going to continue this whole story because to me it's fascinating to pick up on language. I mean, we're trying to distill down in a show the battle of the sexes that have been going on for 6,000 years of civilized history. All right?
Yeah.
Not easy chore to do.
No.
But at the Business Insurance Zone, if it has anything to do with our business, we're talking about it. That's why we're bringing you on here, Dr. Barb.
Thank you.
Listen, I'm Steve Savant. You're listening to the Business Insurance Zone. When we come back, we're going to hear more from the doctor. The doctor is in, and she's got my ear.
This has been a Bravo video event of the National Insurance Clearinghouse and Brokers Alliance, one of the largest distributors of insurance products and services to a nationwide network of insurance professionals. You can contact Brokers Alliance at brokersalliance.com or 1-800-290-7226, extension 147.